manufacturing, technology, hot topics, and a little bit of tomfoolery. This is the MTD Podcast.
Well, what can I say? Podcast 21, my age, let's just clarify. Gio.
Times 3.
Shut your face. Oh, dear,
It's nearer your weight than your age.
Right, moving on. We have, as you probably can hear, Mr. Gio Varney Albanese, fresh. Is that German?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Joe Reynolds.
Hello.
Bonjour. And Tom Foolery is going to help us out as well. So, and then, of course, Colin Griffiths. Once again, I'll get the clap, lads. Right, moving on. What are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk coolant, lubricant, and filtration. Boom. That woke you up, didn't it? Tell me about it.
But please, folks, it's only going to be about 15 minutes, so make sure you stay. Stay.
Well, no, come on now. Sell it. You don't need to sell it.
Do you know what?
It is integral to every machine tool, is it not?
That is my exact point. Yes. What I just said there was a bit tongue-in-cheek. It is often forgotten.
Forgetting?
People see it as a necessary evil. Whereas it's not. It is a liquid tool. I think one of the manufacturers actually uses that phrase, a liquid tool, and it is. It is.
So that goes back to podcast 20, where you got to buy the cracking machine tool. You have to have cracking holders, but you need the right lubricants or coolants as well. You can't scrimp, whatever the word is.
It's part of the process, Colin. It's part of the machining process, and it's something that you need to consider in a little bit more depth. But
so it's not just a case of bunging it in the machine tool and we top it up occasionally. And
some do, some do.
Some girls do, some girls don't. There's a song in it.
I think the point
I'd like
to make,
Gio wants to make a point. Hold on.
Is the money that you can save from considering coolant and the products that you use to monitor the coolant. So
how can you save money?
So, for example, if your coolant is not performing properly, it will significantly affect your cutting tool life. And I know Joe that can give us some stats on that, and Joe's obviously a cutting tool specialist.
Wow, thank you.
And,
there's checks in the post.
But not only the longevity of the cutting tool, but the quality of the components that are being manufactured, the surface finish, for example, the tolerances that you're looking to hold. These are big considerations. If you're buying a machine tool to make the best components, to produce the best parts, surely, you need to be having every single part of the process right.
Spot on.
Why would you overlook coolant when it's going to have such detrimental effects on the cutting process?
Absolutely. So, two things though: coolant, lubricant. Difference?
Yeah, well, coolant. I think I'm correct.
Come on.
Coolant is water soluble, so it's oil based, water soluble. Okay. So obviously you put it in, and then you.
Question: because I've got a physics O level, that's showing my age. How can it be oil and water soluble? Because oil doesn't mix with water.
Well, it's down to the level, isn't it? And obviously it's the way the manufacturing process.
To throw that one in there,
it's diluted.
Yep.
And that's as far as my chemistry.
I tell you what,
got me.
If someone out there could come up with a technical, not too technical, because we're not very bright people around this table. Well, I am, but you two clearly aren't. But that's a little bit rude.
I think all the minerals that go into coolant, there's a lot of, there's lots of different.
It's chemistry.
Yeah,
it isn't a bit of water and a bit of oil.
Yeah.
Certainly not. There's a lot of
actives. So that's getting too specific then. Yeah. But okay. So I'm thinking generally, and this is very general, you normally see coolant running through your mills and your lubricant, so you're all based through your lathes. In a very sweeping statement.
Say that again, Colin. Through your mills and lathes, you'll get soluble coolant.
In the mills, when I'm at a machine shop normally, you generally see coolant sort of running through your milling machines and your lubricant, so your oil running through your lathes. And very, very
typically sliding head lathes, not a traditional lathe. Anything other than the sliding head lathe or a grinding machine, CNC grinding machine, typically will be coolant water based. It'd be diluted. Yeah.
Okay. Is there? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to. Why?
You get significantly more tool life when using neat oil.
Right.
In terms of the sliding head process, it's quite a challenging process that, therefore people do tend to use neat oil.
Okay.
Similar argument for grinding. People tend to use it for grinding, not manual grinding, which is odd. You tend to use coolant for manual grinding, but if it's a CNC grinder, typically, like an Anchor, Walter, that style of machine, typically it's neat cutting oil, premium neat cutting oil.
I'm assuming, could it go to higher temperatures? Again, it's very basic.
Oh, well, they have different flashpoints. They do. And you can get people are playing around with, not preservatives, elements within the oil to stop it. Flame retardant, and it can't go up in flames, but
it can do that because we've seen it occasionally. But
well, you look at a sliding head lathe. Typically, they'll have a fire extinguisher built into the machine. When it hits a flashpoint and goes up, poof, and the fire extinguisher goes off.
Does that come into monitoring? Is that monitoring is more your pH and things like that?
Yeah, your pH typically is between 8.5 and 9.2, and it can go up or down. There's a number of reasons for that.
Is it 8.5, 9.2? Is that correct?
Typically.
Oh,
yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought neutral pH was around 7, so that's fairly alkaline.
Wow, Colin.
You know how I know that? I don't. I made it up, but I think
your local swimming pool.
Again, I'm going back to my physics O levels some many years ago. And again, if anybody out there is rolling their eyeballs going, "That's completely wrong," then I'm.
But I'll tell you the issue you have is people firefight, people bodge it rather than put it right. So when your pH is low, it's either down to excessive diluting, i.e. too much water, or bacteria. So you either add more coolant, and the bacteria is still there. So you need to look after it. You need to monitor it. If you're a large organisation, there's a fair chance your supplier will do that on your behalf. If not, you need to do it yourself. Get your refractometer, get your dipsticks, get everything else.
And
record it. Your refractometer. Yeah, and it is important, and it is often forgotten.
It sounds too complicated,
but I think
it's not at all.
That really brings us on to the coolant monitoring systems that companies are bringing into play, where they actually monitor the coolant of the machine tool. They will add water or add coolant accordingly to keep the pH levels consistent and precise. And I think that the benefits of these systems are absolutely huge because it takes the man out of the equation. It takes the operator out of the equation. So he can just concentrate on running the machine.
Well, you don't want to be topping up your machine all day, every other day.
Absolutely not, because obviously you're always going to get water evaporation during the day, always. So then pH levels are going to be changing consistently.
But right, you have to top up more in the summer.
Absolutely. And also, the other thing is that, once your pH levels are gone, and like Joe says, once you lose your coolant and bacteria comes into play, you've got to replace that coolant and clean the machine down.
It's not just a case of topping up or anything like that.
Absolutely not. So that machine tool, that machine tool will be down for a whole day. So you imagine, a machine tool going down for a day, and the cost of replacing the complete sump of the machine with new fresh coolant. There's a big cost involved. So
it's not cheap,
big cost. Absolutely,
the biggest cost.
The machine.
Nope. Well, no, biggest. That process you've just described, the biggest. Okay, you could argue £40 an hour, 6 hours, whatever, but disposing of oil and coolant
straight down the drain.
Carry on, mate. Carry on. Okay. But I can tell you to do that legally is very expensive. Not as expensive as a fine Colin would get. But it's very expensive.
Right. I just got to pop outside and have a word with one of my engineers because he's currently poor.
Now, joking aside, it is a liquid tool. It's a fundamental part of the machining process. Okay. And what Gio says about monitoring, in years to come, you won't have an option. You will have it. It will be an integral part of the machine. Whereas at the moment,
legislation is it not?
Well, legislations are changing.
Right. Okay.
And they will be coming into play. And like what Joe says, like let's think about this as money. If you were
money involved, I'm thinking.
If you were an owner of an engineering company and someone says to you, Colin, I can save you money. You've got 10 machines out there and I can save you money. You haven't got to change your coolant once or twice a year. You haven't got to have your machine tool down for a day. 10 machines down twice a year for a day, so that's 20 days of lost production maybe in a year. This is basing it around 10 machines.
Arithmetic's improving.
Who do you work for, Joe? Because I'll have some of that.
But you haven't got to disperse of the coolant and pay silly prices to disperse of the coolant. Your guys on the shop floor are not going to be suffering from dermatitis. They haven't got to worry about topping the machine tools up with water and checking. There's huge savings to be had. And then also your longevity of the cutting tools are going to increase. The quality of the parts are going to increase. Where do I stop?
I don't know. I wish you would, though.
The money that you can save is phenomenal. And everyone's using coolant.
When I used to sell cutting tools, the advice I'd always give, they'll beat you over the head trying to get an extra 5%. 5%.
What? Add on 5%?
Yeah. No, they'd want a 5% saving in tool life, in money, or whatever it may be. Yep. And you'd look at it. And you know what? They could save 30% in tool life just by changing the coolant. Forget the tool. Get the coolant, get the environment
So
correct.
you were the worst tool salesman in the
trouble is
country because they all buy more coolant and lubricant.
Well, that is an issue. Yeah, you do yourself out of business, but that's another story. But you've got to do it. And I know we're going to come on to filtration shortly, but everything's getting tied to legislation. 2007, there was the REACH, registration, evaluation, authorization, restriction of chemicals, REACH. And that came out in
that's impressive,
that came out in 2007.
How did you know that?
I've got it wrote down.
Yeah.
I got it in 2007. That came out. It's an EU. Oh, it's an EU legislation.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore, does it? We're out of the EU. We'll move on quickly.
But it's one of the good ones. There's not many, but it's one of the good ones. And essentially, and there's other things coming. I'm not an expert. There's other things coming in the back end of 2019 where a director's liable, whereas at the minute you're a limited company. The company takes the hit. If it's bad enough and someone got cancer, God forbid, or a bad complaint, do you know what? I'll have you $100,000 the company's got, but that's not enough. I'm going to come after you as well, Colin, if that's okay.
Well, I haven't got any money, mate, so it's tough.
Yeah, but to be fair, it's right. Why should machinists, we're trying to clean up the industry, why should they work in a dirty environment, dirty coolant, where bacteria is present, no filtration? Why would you?
I think it's, on the last podcast that we did, we buy cheap, buy twice, you get what you pay for. And I think that now the coolant companies are not just offering a product, but they're offering a service as well. They are supplying equipment such as coolant monitoring systems.
So they're not just turning out with a big barrel of oil or coolant saying, there you go.
Well, put it this way. In the past, coolant companies wanted to sell as much coolant as possible. So the coolant going off would be good for them because they're repeat selling. However, with these new legislations, everything that's coming into place, the coolant companies now are looking at it and thinking, well, the coolant needs to last as long as possible, and we need to make our money, through the coolant that we're selling, but also look after their coolant. So they're introducing new products. For example, I done a project at Ford a few years ago, and they get paid. The coolant company gets paid on each engine block that comes off. They don't get paid by the actual value of the coolant that they're selling. So it's in their interest.
Colin.
It's in their interest to get the most out of the coolant.
Isn't it the same with airlines, the jets,
correct,
engines? Yeah. They get paid per hour they're working.
So the coolant company in Ford
servitization, I heard, want
to sell them as least coolant as possible, or want to supply, and then they'll make the most money out of that account. If that makes sense?
No.
It's the same. It's the better job they did, less money they make. Same as tooling salesmen, really. But
it's adding value because then they'll have the long-term relationship.
Well, that's it. If there's tramp oil always present, if the coolant's going off, you will lose that account. You will. So you think you're doing well, but they're in the boardroom saying we need to kick Colin out because he's selling me dodgy coolant.
I've never sold dodgy coolant in my life.
No.
And I've never sold any coolant in my life, to be honest.
Just on coolant, and it's not necessarily the coolant supplier's job to do it. Tramp oil is a tool life killer. It's around about, and don't quote me on this, it's around about 5% tramp oil, which doesn't sound a lot, does it? Bearing in mind, machine tools are designed to leak oil, so it leaks hydraulic oil into the help me out, what's it called? Into the sump. And it sits there, and that is what tramp oil is. And basically, 5% tramp oil roughly reduces tool life by 20%, and that's a fact. That's not.
You just said don't quote me on it.
Well, it's a fact. Don't quote me on the 20%, 5%, but it's somewhere in around those numbers.
Mentioning machine tools as well, the actual oil is a lubricant for the machine tool as well. So you don't want your machine tools to be rusting up, etc. So it's actually lubricating the machine tool. And I think that when you're cutting cast iron, there are products such as magnetic filtration. So cast iron is an awful material, So to be able to clear, and it's to be able to filter that microns, you can use magnetic filtration. So again, it's clearing the coolant of the cast iron.
So making sure it's going back through the machine, and it's as good as new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Colin, so if it's just one for me. If I said to you, water hardness, and Gio, what would that mean?
That is like when you're doing your washing machine, it gets lime scale on it because the water's hard.
Yeah, but how does that influence the machining process?
It'll over time. It'll.
The answer is, Colin, you don't know.
Well, I'm trying to. I know if you've got hard water on your dishwasher at home or in the shower, you get lime scale everywhere. So if that lime scale is building up on your machine tool, it's going to affect the quality of the components you're manufacturing. That's what I'm trying to allude to.
Yeah, I guess in a roundabout way. And bear in mind, I'm not an expert. I've obviously had dealings with coolant in the past, but you have hard and soft water, as we all know.
Yep.
And one area, say Leicester, hard water.
Is this true?
Ooh.
Devon, soft water.
Oh.
Is it?
Does it need a different coolant?
Yes.
I don't know.
Gio's gone no. I'll
That's
go
a
yes.
good
Gio's
point.
gone no.
Well, yeah. The answer is you do.
See, I'm right,
So-
Gio.
Wow.
I guess your local rep, if he's a good rep, he'll know,
Do
because
you know how
it doesn't
you can tell?
change
A
building
simple
to
way of
building.
telling if it's hard or soft water?
Go on.
When you're sudding yourself up in the shower, if it gets really suddy, that's soft water. And if you don't get any bubbles, that's hard water.
Yeah, but
Not a thing you want to visualise. Thank God it's a podcast.
in truth, I think coolant manufacturers have a far more efficient mode of measuring water hardness.
What, the me travelling around the country sudding myself up in the shower?
Exactly, and that's quite fortunate. That's quite fortunate. So, what tends to happen is a reputable company may take a water sample, Colin.
Absolutely.
And they'll take
Just getting my sample ready.
Exactly. They'll take it to the lab and they'll say, we recommend product A, and that will be down to the water hardness, believe it or not. So it's not something you start a machine shop and you go online and you pick an oil.
It is a complete science, is what you're saying. So don't just buy some coolant or lubricant.
It is. It's physics. It's science. It's chemistry.
Can I refer you back to my O level that I got in physics?
Well, you should be telling me all this, Colin.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to preach to the
No,
converted.
unfortunately, it's a long time ago. Anyway, moving on.
But look
What
after your
about-
coolant.
Absolutely. Well, I think we get that just straight. What about? I've done some machining all day. It's a beautiful component. I open that door. There's a big cloud of mist coming at me. That can't be good for me breathing all that in, can it?
No.
Oh, that's it. It's a nice and simple. Thanks, Jess. Anyway, our next topic. Talk me through it, Gio.
The easy answer is no, and I think new legislations for that is also coming into play. So the mist extraction, you've started to see a lot of machines now that are adopting this, that they're being sold with the machine at the point of purchase. However,
But they can be retrofitted, obviously.
they can be retrofitted
Just
as well.
clarify.
However, now with these new legislations that are coming into play, and I think Joe touched on it briefly a bit ago, if you're a company that hasn't got this filtration or extraction, you can be liable if someone is breathing that in all day and becomes poorly. You could be liable as a company, but also the MD of the company can be
So
liable.
health and
as well.
safety is key to our employee.
Well,
not our
do
employees.
you know the odd thing? This isn't new, This goes back to Kosh. I'm sure it was in Kosh. The original control of, was it Kosh? Controllers substance.
Not a Kosh you carry around on
hazardous
Saturday
to
night.
health or whatever it is. But it goes back decades. But now they've really the HSE have really tightened up on it. And they're going to look retrospectively if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And
So
look back as well.
I think all machines will have to have it on effectively, unless they kind of don't follow the laws and regulations.
So that is not part. So I'm buying new machines. So we talked to tool holders, tooling, bar feeders, swarf conveyors. That mist extraction is not part of that whole package.
It would be when you get a quote, it would be an option, for sure.
But it is an option. It's not you have to have it.
No, no, the machine tool company can't tell you to buy it, can they? But legally, it probably is. In truth, if HSE knock on your door, it's probably a warning initially, I would guess. But in years to come,
Well, there's no one to answer the door because they're all pulling the coolant down the drain out the back.
I think years to come, every machine will have to have it on, and
I think it does now. Just people don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's come out on leaps and bounds. I mean, since I've kind of been visiting engineering companies from 8 years ago, I can remember I used to go into sliding edge shops, and sometimes I used to be like Bambi on ice. There used to be oil across
We've seen you on a Saturday night,
machine's
mate.
floor.
Yeah,
You couldn't stand up straight in your shoes, and you're trying to walk across the shop floor, and you're slipping and sliding. You don't really see that anymore.
Is that
now,
due
do
to
you?
mist extraction?
That
though?
is exactly down to mist extraction.
I see
because
that.
it used to evaporate and just fall onto the floor.
So what do we all visit probably between us 500-600 companies a year. How many what percentage?
Well, I do. What about you?
Oh, 2, 3, a second. No, what percentage do we think adopt mist extraction?
Ooh.
I think
Well,
sliding edge shops are all.
do you know the answer?
I don't know the answer.
I'd
But
say
I've
it'd be
got
low.
I've got
20%, I reckon.
I've got a good gut feel.
I'd say the sliding edge shops, I'd say 90% now. I think they've all adopted
agree.
it.
I'd agree,
Is that
That's only recently.
But is that due to the flashpoints and it going up in flames, or is that due to health and safety legislation?
I think it's due to what I've just been saying. Really, it was
sorry, Joe, I wasn't
a
listening, mate.
it created a really bad environment for people to work in. Not just when you open the machine door, but the old factory used to be covered in coolant across the floor because of the evaporation. It come out of the machine and then just be lying. It was horrendous. So that has kind of really been implemented now, and I think fair play to the sliding head OEMs that have really pushed that along. But I think now it's spreading across to all types of machine tools. But it's very, very. I'd say it's a low percentage where it's been adopted by 20%.
At best, it's a third. One in three at best.
Oh, I'm going to go 33.33% then.
A reoccurring number.
Come on, guys, work with me. Right, okay.
Colin's jokes are reoccurring. I've heard that before.
So why should everyone start investing in filtration and coolant monitoring systems then, really?
Well, to me, we talk about a lot of technology and things. This one is dead simple. You've got to look after your people. You've got to protect them. You've got to make sure they get home to their family healthy.
Getting good engineers these days, mate.
Exactly. And if you don't, you're breaking the law.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
it's simple as that,
and
isn't it?
earn more money in the process. Again, invested in the right technology, you do become more profitable in the end.
So you're making better components, better environment for your staff.
It's a win-win.
Meeting legislation, and ultimately you've got that cost, but the long term, it's actually going to save you money.
I'll have some of that.
I'll have some of that.
I'll
Gio,
have
you
some
gonna?
of that too,
Yeah, let's all have some of that. On that note, I think I'm off to have some of that. Anything else to add, gents, or should we go and go and check out coolant?
No, I'm off to buy a filtration system for my VMC before HSE come knocking.
Oh, VMC, HSE. Any more?
I'm going to go and find out, if I've got hard water or soft water at home.
Oh, God. Are you going to do that in the bathroom, in the shower?
Do you know what he will be as well, won't he? Thanks for your time, as always, Colin.
Gio, please don't send us a video of that one. Anyway, thank you for listening. Podcast 21, Coolant Lubricant Filtration. Gio Albanese, Joe Reynolds, Tom Foolery, and of course, Colin Griffiths. A great show. Thank you for listening. And if you want to correct us on anything, we'll put our disclaimer in now. We'll speak to you soon.